Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me. We're now into 2021, and we've had some new open world video games released on the home consoles over the last few months, so because of this, I feel it's time to make a new video and give you guys what I consider to be the best titles available to play on the consoles right now. So with all that being said, let's get to it. First on the list is a game called Immortals Phoenix Rising, which kind of flew under the radar when it was released last month. I picked it up on the Xbox sale and I absolutely love it. The game is visually beautiful with its Breath of the Wild art style. The world is packed with cool stuff to do and I enjoyed the light-hearted story. A very underrated game, go check it out. A game that was originally released on the PS3 and Xbox 360 way back in 2013, featuring on a Best Open World Games list in 2021? Yes, this is still the king of the open world gaming in my opinion, although I do feel that we could do with some news on GTA 6 by now. Everyone watching this video has probably played GTA 5 at some point, but it simply has to feature on this list. I'm not a SpiderMan fan, I have to admit I'm a bit of a Batman fanboy, but this is one of the best open world games around and you actually feel like a superhero whilst playing it. If you haven't played either of the latest Spider-Man games and you've got a PS5, go for the Ultimate Edition, which includes both the remaster of Spider-Man and Miles Morales, and this game looks stunning on Sony's new console. Some claim that Breath of the Wild is the best video game we've had in the last few decades, and whilst I don't agree with this, it's definitely a hugely enjoyable open world adventure game with lots to see and do. It's personally my favourite Zelda game of all time, but some people don't like the weapon degradation mechanic. This didn't bother me at all, and it's still the best game on the Nintendo Switch in my opinion. A few years back, Ubisoft gave the Assassin's Creed series a soft reboot. Starting with Origins, we've had 3 extremely enjoyable titles which deliver satisfying combat and huge open worlds to explore. These new iterations to the Assassin series are lengthy, so make sure you're prepared to put in the hours. Odyssey is the successor to Origins and personally my favourite from the recent releases. I prefer the setting in Odyssey, and you now have dialogue options when interacting with NPCs. It looks absolutely gorgeous on the 4K enabled consoles. This kinda goes against popular opinion, but this is my favourite Watch Dogs game so far. Many seem to prefer the second game, which is also a lot of fun, but I love the idea of being able to play as multiple characters in Legion, and I really enjoyed the permadeath option. The setting of a dystopian London works really well too. Saints Row the Third was already an extremely enjoyable game in its own right, but the original is looking rough around the edges now. The remaster, however, breathes a new life into a game which I feel is underrated, and that's mainly because I just love playing all of the story missions with a friend in the brilliant co-op mode. Seriously, check this game out. It's goofy and it's a lot of fun. You can't have an open world video game list without featuring Red Dead Redemption 2 on it. This title has one of the most beautiful open worlds I've ever had the pleasure of exploring in a video game, plus the characters and the story will keep you immersed for many hours. Ghost of Tsushima didn't receive the reception that many predicted when it was finally released last summer. Personally, I think it's a very good open world title and deserves to be on this list. It's one of the most visually impressive games on the PS4 and in my opinion deserves far more praise than it has been given. Like GTA 5, most of you watching this video will have played Fallout 4, but for the minority who haven't, you need to play this game. It's personally my favourite Fallout, which is an extremely unpopular opinion as many seem to prefer Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas. You'll be able to pick this up super cheap now, and there's a huge, interesting world to explore. I'm one of the very few people who didn't take to The Witcher 3 when I first played it. I had not played the previous games and I wasn't familiar with the characters or lore. And whilst it's not essential to play the prequels before starting Wild Hunt, it does help. So after reading up on the events of the first two games, I enjoyed The Witcher 3 a lot. There's a very interesting story, a huge world to traverse, and it's brimming with content. The original Final Fantasy VII title is my favourite game on the PlayStation 1. I literally used to miss school because I spent so much time in Midgar. This remake is simply incredible. The gameplay, the graphics, the story and the music are all reasons to check this game out, and it manages to deliver a brand new experience while still staying faithful to the original. The third and most recent addition to what I call the rebooted versions of the game, and actually the 12th major installment to the Assassin's Creed series, Valhalla, is an epic and huge open world video game. Whilst I probably prefer Odyssey, this is definitely worth checking out if you have the time to spare. Days Gone is another PS4 exclusive, which I expected to review better, but with saying that, it's still a very enjoyable open world experience with interesting characters and a story which will keep you going until the end. And like many of the games featured in this video, it looks beautiful, especially on the 4K enabled PlayStation systems. This is an extremely underrated game and one of my favourite titles on the Xbox. I've spent many hours with State of Decay 2, it's so much fun, especially in co-op with a friend. I can't wait until State of Decay 3 is released, and hopefully it builds on everything that is good about the second game. Miles Morales is my second favourite game that I played in 2020. The main story is pretty short, but there's loads of optional stuff to do, and exploring the rooftops of New York City is an absolute joy. I preferred playing as Miles rather than Peter Parker. He's an awesome Spider-Man. Skyrim is another open world game that has been around for ages now, and that you've most likely played, finished, and played it again. But maybe someone out there hasn't, so that's why it's on this list. The 5th edition to the Elder Scrolls series is an atmospheric experience and you'll get many hours of enjoyment from it. I still haven't finished Horizon Zero Dawn, but I have spent a lot of time with it and the game needs to feature on this video. Aloy is a cool protagonist with an interesting story and the world is gorgeous. I'm very interested in seeing how the sequel, Horizon Forbidden West, turns out. Cyberpunk 2077 had one of the most controversial launches in video game history. The game was panned by some for the amount of bugs and glitches which hindered the gameplay, although this does seem to depend on what system you play on. I played it on the Xbox Series X and had an amazing time with it. It's my game of the year for 2020, and since the reviews it has received a few patches, and we've also got more coming soon. Cyberpunk simply has to be on this list due to the vast world to explore and the amount of quests to take part in. I loved it, but it might not be for everyone in its current state. And that is my list of favourite open world games available on console as I'm recording this video in January 2021. There's a few games that just missed out on featuring in the list, such as Batman Arkham City, Far Cry 3 Classic Edition and Watch Dogs 2. These are fun experiences, but I didn't feel that they deserved to be on the main list. Let me know what you think of this list and what you would have had added to it. As always, thank you for watching. Please hit this video up with a like, please subscribe and look out for lots more content coming to the channel very soon. Take care.